Dive deep, where minds unravel and health takes center stage. This is the Deep Mind and Health Chronicles with Ahmad, someone MD. A journey through psychology, medicine, and the untold stories of the human condition. Stay with us as we go deep in minds, good in health.
Today, we're digging into something really interesting, this idea of zero competition. Can you actually choose not to compete and still thrive?
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept. We got some great material from you, our listeners, looking at the psychology behind it, different philosophies, what motivates us, if not ambition.
Right, and practical stuff too, even some examples from Indonesia. So the mission today is basically figuring out how focusing inward on growth and collaboration might work instead of always, looking over your shoulder.
Exactly. And a lot of the sources jump right into why we compete in the first place. It seems tied to needing to feel competent, achieving things, getting recognition. We're pretty basic human stuff. But there's this trap. They mentioned the zero-sum bias.
Okay, zero-sum. That's the idea that
Really fuels that competitive drive.
So how does that actually push us into competing, maybe when we, shouldn't?
Well, if you think success is limited, you naturally feel you have to fight for your peace. But the sources argue that's often just a misperception.
A misperception.
Yeah. It can lock us into competing even when working together would actually create more for everyone. Think about, teams in a company hoarding information instead of sharing it to nail a big project.
Right. Protecting your tiny patch instead of seeing the whole potentially bigger field. Okay. What about ambition then? We're always told ambition is good, it drives success. How does that fit with the zero competition idea?
Ambition can be powerful, that strong desire for success. But our sources highlight that when it's purely about external stuff, power, status, money, it can backfire.
How so?
It can lead to, stress, anxiety, maybe cutting corners ethically. It creates this tunnel vision. The zero competition angle suggests aiming for maybe a broader kind of success, like well-being and contribution.
Okay, so if this zero-sum thinking is a trap, how do we get out of it? It feels kind of hardwired sometimes.
Yeah, it can feel that way. The key insight seems to be consciously looking for situations where mutual gain is possible, win-win scenarios. Our sources suggest maybe its roots are in times of real scarcity, evolutionarily speaking, but applying it everywhere today is more of a cognitive shortcut, a bias.
So recognize it's a bias.
Yeah.
Then what?
Actively reframe. Look for the non-zero sum potential. One source even mentioned experiments showing that reminding people about evaluation systems that reward group success can actually reduce the bias. Like basic economics education can help too.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Consciously shift your perspective. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Philosophy. The materials mention some non-competitive traditions.
Absolutely. Eastern philosophies, for instance, often point towards inner peace, kind of detaching from that constant worldly race. And Stoicism was mentioned too, focusing on your own virtue, your personal best, not whether you beat somewhere else. These offer a sort of intellectual grounding for stepping back from competition.
An internal scorecard, not an external one. Got it. There was also this term, complementarity. What's that about?
Yeah, complementarity. It's about shifting from being the best to giving your best, recognizing everyone brings different things to the table.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so you focus on your unique contributions.
Down the ambition and competition. What fuels us? Where does the motivation come from?
Great question. The sources point strongly to intrinsic motivation, meaning you're driven by the enjoyment of the activity itself, the inherent interest. It's more sustainable, than constantly chasing external validation.
Okay, so finding the joy in the process. What else?
Motivation through contribution was another big one. The desire to make a positive difference for others, that shifts the focus right off personal gain. And personal development, just the drive to learn, grow, improve yourself, that's inherently rewarding.
Right. So alternative goals too, like good relationships, work-life balance. It's a more holistic picture of a good life. Maybe.
Exactly. Holistic is a good word for it. Okay, so knowing all this is one thing. How do you actually do it? How do you cultivate the zero competition mindset when, let's face it, the world often feels competitive?
Yeah, good point.
The main advice is focus on your own growth.
Yeah.
Use internal benchmarks, not external comparisons. Really embrace that growth mindset, seeing challenges as learning opportunities, not threats.
Okay, focus inward. What about when you are in a competitive situation? like at work?
Stay focused on your own tasks and integrity. Try not to get sucked into unhealthy rivalries. Build your own confidence from within. And self-awareness is huge.
Also,
Noticing your own competitive triggers. Like, when do you feel that urge to compare or beat someone? And then consciously choosing a different response. Mindfulness, emotional regulation, those kinds of skills help.
makes sense. Be aware, then choose. Now, the sources also push back against the idea that success is always a solo journey.
Oh, definitely. Collaboration and teamwork often lead to way better results, and it feels more fulfilling, too. We saw those examples from Indonesian businesses thriving through partnership.
And empathy came up.
Crucial. Empathy helps build the strong relationships you need for collaboration, and integrity, just being honest and trustworthy. That's fundamental for any kind of lasting success or satisfaction, competitive environment or not.
Right. Are there, like, concrete examples of businesses or situations where this works?
Yeah, the sources mentioned businesses that carve out unique niches, focusing on creating distinct value like the 0 to 1 idea. They aren't directly competing in the same way.
Finding their own lane.
Exactly. And even things that look competitive on the surface, like maybe a modeling contest, can be reframed as platforms for talent discovery and even collaboration later on. The Indonesian examples highlighted cross-sector collaborations too, and leaders valued for integrity, not just aggression.
Interesting. Okay, but life isn't always smooth sailing, even with this mindset. What about setbacks? Failure? Conflict?
Yeah, good point. The approach suggested is seeing failure, honest communication, active listening, really trying to understand the other side and focusing on solutions, not blame.
So it sounds like zero competition isn't about being passive or unambitious in a different sense.
Not at all. It's really an active choice about what you value and where you focus your energy. It's prioritizing personal growth, contribution, collaboration, your own integrity.
Even when there are competitive pressures all around.
Right. And the argument is that this path can actually lead to greater well-being, more ethical behavior, and maybe, kind of counterintuitively, more meaningful achievements in the long run.
Wow. Lots to think about there. So for you listening, maybe it's worth reflecting. What's your relationship with competition? Is it serving you? Could shifting focus towards collaboration and your own internal compass, perhaps, lead to something richer?
Wow.
Definitely something to mull over. Thanks for joining this deep dive.
And so, another chapter closes. Thank you for joining us in the Deep Mind and Health Chronicles. Until next time, stay deep in minds and good in health.